We could not book Scott Rosenblum, so we have Chet Pleban. He joins us now.
Yeah. Here we go. See, this is how it always starts. It was good talking to you, Frank.
All right. You know what's kind of going on here. It looks like a $790 million settlement for St. Louis. We kept hearing the billion number. We kept hearing the possibility of an expansion team. And now it's $790 million. Your reaction on the whole thing, Chet?
I think when you have those kind of numbers on the table, it's very difficult to say that you want to go and put your fate in the hands of 12 strangers, albeit the city of St. Louis, which is a good venue, obviously, for the city and for the plaintiffs. But nonetheless, there's no sure thing as any lawsuit when you go into court. You know, there are always bumps in the road, and you don't know at the end of the day how you're going to wind up. Now, I think looking at this and based upon what I know, and I don't know, I haven't read all the depositions, et cetera, but it looked to me like this was a good case from the plaintiff's perspective. Obviously, the venue was very good. But then you get down to the question of, okay, you have first address the issue of liability. And are the Rams liable for what they did to the plaintiffs? I think that's an easy call. The second question is, assuming that they're liable, what is the damage? What is the causal connection between what they did, the fraud, et cetera, and the damages that occurred? And so I think that you never know when you allocate the numbers and when you stack up the numbers. And I don't know what the bottom line numbers are here. I don't know what the bottom line numbers are. I know, $3.5 million in amusement, 7.5 property tax, 1.4 sales, et cetera, et cetera. So you've got numbers in the millions. And so you don't know, however, what a jury's going to do. And so compensatory damages, those are the actual damages. Those are designed to make the plaintiff whole. So in other words, you lost X number of dollars, and the jury's function is to go ahead and make you whole with respect to those numbers. Then you add on top of that the question of punitive damages. And the court has already ruled that there is clear and convincing evidence of outrageous, willful, wanton, reckless and regard for the plaintiff's rights. That entitles potentially a jury to make a determination as to whether or not punitive damages would apply. That's the second half of the trial. So you never know what a jury is going to do with respect to punitives, which are designed to punish the wrongdoer. So when you separate it all out and you take away the risks and you put numbers, hardcore numbers, at $790 million, I think that's a good settlement. If you think that your case is worth $1 million, let's say hypothetically, and the defendant is offering you $100,000, okay, that's an easy case to try. But if you get to on $1 million and you're being offered $900,000, that's a problem. You have a tough time walking away from that. So I think, all in all, I think it's a good result.
Chet, this is Howard Richards here. Thanks for joining us this morning. For those fans that were really clamoring and maybe even expecting that St. Louis would be awarded an expansion franchise, can you explain why that was such a long shot and why that really didn't factor into this?
Yeah, I think when they went into the mediation, and Jack Garvey, by the way, a former circuit judge in the city, is a very, very good mediator. But what you're talking about, I suppose that you could add that as far as kind of an element of the damage or some type of compensation. But I don't know necessarily that makes the plaintiffs whole. And so, if you want to do a side deal away from this lawsuit, that may work out for you. But what we're really talking about here are dollars and cents, and who's going to pay and the like. And I don't know necessarily, remember, KROENKE had an indemnification agreement with the other owners. which was getting a little problematic for everybody since he was trying to back out of them. So I think trying to negotiate some sort of an expansion team for St. Louis with this many owners was an exercise in futility at this point in time when you're really talking about dollars and you're talking about indemnification agreements and the like. So I just never thought that was going to come to pass. I also never thought that the case was going to go to trial because there were too many risks associated with these multi-gazillion-dollar owners, not the least of which is their financial net worth being splattered into the public domain. And they've been fortunate so far because there hasn't been a lot of national exposure on this case. I suspect there probably will be now, but there hasn't been to date.
Chet Craig Riggins here. Mm-hmm. Despite the $790 million settlement, and that is a huge amount of money, there are many people in the area who are upset because, in their opinion, it was not enough. The NFL didn't suffer enough. Stan Kroenke didn't suffer enough. With that said, with the evidence that had been made public and with the evidence that may not have been made public that you personally may have been privy to, had you been the lead attorney, would you have pressed for more money? Why or why not?
No, I obviously the plaintiff's lawyers, whether it's me or somebody else, you're going to press during that mediation for the maximum dollars. So what happens is that the mediator, you separate the parties. The plaintiff goes in one room, the defendants go into another room. And so he goes back and forth and back and forth. And what he's doing is he's saying, okay, you're ridiculous. You want $10 billion. That's absurd. You're never going to make that number. And let's get down to reality. Then he goes back to the other side and he says, wait a minute, you're offering what, $500 million? That's ridiculous. The case is worth more than that. And here are the legal impediments for both of you as to why, Mr. Defendant, you need to raise the number, and to why, Mr. Plaintiff, you need to lower the number. So you get to the point where all of this, and I get it, that people in St. Louis, including myself, are upset by the way in which these charlatans handled this situation. I mean, Kroenke lied. He lied. And he disparaged the city of St. Louis in the process when he folded his tent and moved out to California, which he was predetermined to do in any event. So I get it that we all want to go into the courtroom and embarrass them. Really, that's what it boils down to, and get our pound of flesh that way. But the reality is these are business decisions, and you use your best judgment as to what you think your damages are, and that's the central point. So if you've got $50,000 worth of damages and you're looking for $50 million in compensation for those damages, that's crazy. That's ridiculous. So you're governed by what you can actually come in to prove, and this isn't one of those cases necessarily where I'm in an automobile accident and I have X number of dollars in medical expense, and oh, by the way, I have pain and suffering. Well, I can't quantify that. I can't put a number on that pain and suffering. So jurors, you give me what you think I sustained by way of that pain and suffering. Here, these are hard numbers. So you have, the sales tax, the property tax, the amusement tax, all that sort of stuff. So you can parade that in front of a jury. Those are hard dollars. And so that's your starting point. So if you've got hard dollars, of 50 million, 100 million, whatever, okay, well, you can't say I have compensatory damages that exceed, $1 billion, because you don't. And so you have to look potentially in a case like this on the punitive aspect of it, which may or may not come.
Okay, one final thought. We're here with the great attorney, Chet Pleban. This is Hollywood Casino Press Box on the all-new 590 The Fan. Frank Cusumano with Howard Richards and Craig Riggins. Why did they settle now? Wouldn't the offer have kept going up?
Not necessarily. I suppose they settled now because some people may be going to jail as of December 3rd. Because remember, they played games with the discovery with respect to their net worth, their finances. They racked up $24,000 in fines, $25,000 additional in legal fees. So now they're going to have to come into court on December the 3rd and face Judge Chris McGraw, who will make a determination as to whether or not they're in willful disobedience of a court order and in an indirect criminal contempt. So I suspect that their bottom line number was probably going to come well before December 3rd, so they don't have to incur that additional embarrassment. So I think you can wait, but I'm going to guess that the plaintiff's lawyers figured out that this is all that they're willing to put on the table, and if we don't take this, then we bought a trial, complete with all the potential pitfalls of a trial.
Gotcha. Great stuff, Chet. We really appreciate your time. Enjoy your time off. We'll talk to you soon, sir.
Happy Thanksgiving to all of you.
Thank you so much. All right, that is Chet Pleban with some good thoughts. You put it in the fate of 12 strangers. That's basically the story of the day. It's
a huge risk. And if you understand the law, which I'm not an attorney, but I've studied a number of these cases before, that's not what you want to do. You're settling, in most cases, 90% of these civil cases settle anyway. And the reason is, for that very point you just made, you don't want a jury deciding your fate.